may be a little biased in this review because I love oats. I love them. They're good for your butt and they're good for your heart. Let's freaking do this! Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let Me Learn Ya, where I, a registered and licensed dietitian with a master's of human nutrition, save you all the time and effort of looking at things and searching and thinking, and I tell you what to think, and you listen to me. Just kidding. Today we are going to be reviewing a very popular, very cult-like status product, Oatly. It is a oat milk. If you haven't heard of it, then you are definitely not vegan and you are definitely not a hipster. Every brand is making an oat milk now. From Califia, Kalima, to Trader Joe's, Silk has an oat milk. The one that most people know about is Oatly. In this review, I will be talking about my personal preference for the product. Did I enjoy the flavor and the consistency and such? I will be reviewing 3 products of theirs. That includes the original Oatly milk, the mint and chip frozen dessert, and the oat gurt in the flavor peach. I'll be discussing the ingredients in each of these products, and I will be doing a nutrient analysis and comparison to cow's milk, because so many people ask, is plant milk a healthy alternative to cow's milk? I'm also, just for funsies, because I love looking into the history of things and what the company actually is and what they say, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on Oatly as a company itself. And you might want to stick around for that because there's some scandalous. Is that the right word? Scandalous in Spanish.
Escandaloso.
Stick around because there's some escandaloso. So what I'm not going to be talking about in this video, to be very clear, is any type of ethical conversation as to whether it is more ethical to drink oat's milk versus cow milk. And I'm not going to be comparing Oatly to other types of plant milks, simply because it would make this video just a behemoth monster. But if you are interested in me doing a separate video that's a deep dive analysis on all the types of plant milks out there and which one I would recommend, leave a comment below. You ask, I deliver. So I'm just gonna jump into the review first because that's usually what people care about. They're not wallet friendly. And here's the thing. Unless the actual process of making oat milk is a very costly process, there's no justification in price for the actual ingredients they use. It's oats, canola oil, water, synthetic vitamins, and some gums, and some sugar. That's it. Oats are cheap as hell, you guys. It's one of the reasons why I love them so much. 64 ounces of the original oat milk is gonna cost you $5.99. 1 pint of the mint and chip frozen dessert costs $4.99, and 5.3 ounces of their oat gurt in peach flavor cost $1.99. I could purchase an entire gallon of milk. That's double the amount of what I would get from Oatly, a pint of mint and chip ice cream from an H-E-B brand, and a container of peach yogurt for $7.95. Everything that I purchased from Oatly was almost $13. To many people of middle to higher income who tend to be more likely to be vegan, try to eat more plant-based, this won't be a problem. But for millions of Americans who maybe would like to be vegan or be more plant-based, or for people who can't drink milk for some reason, they won't be able to afford this. When compared to other plant milks, Oatly is around $2 more expensive than almond milk, soy milk. When compared to other brands, it's kind of a mid to high range level. For instance, it's more expensive than milk from Trader Joe's or from Silk, but it's less expensive than Califia? I don't know. For the original oat milk, that thing got a solid 5 out of 5. I understand why there's an almost cult-like following for this oat milk. It was hands down the best plant milk I have ever tasted. Yep, I said it. It was very creamy. That's what I believe sets Oatly apart from other plant milks. Plant milks, for anybody who's had them before, they tend to be very watery. Almond milk has a very strong almond flavor. Soy has a very distinct flavor. This milk was super creamy. It had a wonderful mouthfeel, very faint flavor of oats. I love the flavor of oats, so maybe that's another reason why I liked it so much. If you hate the flavor of oats, you may still enjoy this just because the flavor was very light. The mint and chip frozen dessert was also very good, but I gave it a 4 out of 5. It wasn't good enough for me to say, I don't need to eat ice cream anymore. This is either equal to or better to ice cream. That being said, I could totally see this being a wonderful replacement for people who really crave ice cream, but for whatever reason can't eat or choose not to eat ice cream made from dairy. The flavor was very nice. It was super mint and chippy, just the way I love it. The only issues that I had with it was that even though it was mostly creamy, it was still kind of slightly on the icy side, and the chocolate chips were extremely dry and crunchy. With all the good comes the bad, and the bad is oat gurt. So I gave the oat gurt a 0 out of 5. It is very rare, folks, that there is a food item that I absolutely refuse to eat. I am not picky. This oat gurt was terrifying. From the moment I opened the package, I looked at it and I was like, oh God. It was the color of like an off-white wall in a house where somebody had been living there and smoking in it for like decades. It was very runny, but also mucusy and stringy at the same time. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to taste this. But because I care about my loyal watchers, I tasted it. The flavor was almost as bad as the look. If oats could get the flu and expel their fluids into a cup, that's what this was. It was chalky yet slimy at the same time. I don't know how they pulled that off. The flavor of it was kind of this sour oat, it was not good. You may love something that's chalky and slimy and tastes like sour oat sick. No judgment there, but for me, I thought this was an absolute fail. It shocked me considering how good the previous 2 products were. So gross. Their marketing tone is very in line with what a lot of companies are trying to do now. Let's get the hip young millennials. The hip young millennials. Oh my God, the millennials aren't young anymore. Let's get the hip young Gen Z. The people who care about the environment, all about sarcasm and joking, but also about like respecting everyone's differences and all of that. It's so obvious what they're doing. It comes off as the tragically unhip uncle who's always like, hey man, groovy, how you doing? Trying to keep up on like the lingo. I could ignore all of that if it wasn't for their CEO, Tony Peterson. Tony Peterson joined the company in 2012. This was when it got super cheesy marketing, hipster-esque, everything that you see today. And people might argue, well, his marketing is working. Well, I would argue the marketing isn't what worked. What worked was when they put Oatly in Starbucks. That's when they blew up. Here's the issue with Tony. Tony did not create this product. But all the marketing has been about Tony. It just seems very narcissistic. Here are some examples. There is now a infamous Super Bowl commercial that Oatly made. Literally just Tony singing in the worst voice possible. Just Tony. Tony, some Oatly, and a keyboard.
Like milk, made for humans. It's like milk, but made for humans. Wow, wow, no cow.
You might be like, oh, big deal. Well, how about my Oatly carton that I noticed had a cartoon of Tony on it, and you can color it. of him laying on a couch talking about how hardworking he is and how awesome he is, and ends with hashtag Tony for Prez. Oh, that's not enough for you. Okay, how about my ice cream container? The lid that sealed the ice cream, it told me, congratulations, you are one of the lucky individuals to receive this limited edition Tony Peterson signature. Why the effing H would I give a crap about getting a Tony Peterson signature? I don't even know who this guy is. If Tony invented Oatly and he was like so proud of it and wanted to be a part of it, this would be less cringy. But he didn't. He's just the CEO. Like, I literally can't imagine the marketing team coming up with this idea. Let's not talk about our super cool product that's absolutely delicious, that was invented by a food scientist. Instead, we want to market you, because everybody knows that the majority of the public in America loves CEOs. Overall, I give the marketing 2 out of 5, and the only reason I gave it a 2 was because the packaging of their product, it's super cute. I got the original Oatly, which is a full fat version. So I compared it to whole cow milk. Oatly wins in some areas against milk, and Oatly also loses in some areas. For those of you that don't know, micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. So we're talking vitamin A, D, E, K, C, calcium, potassium. For every micronutrient, Oatly squeaks out just a couple percentage marks ahead of milk. While there are some micronutrients present in oats, most of these are not. These are synthetic vitamins that are sprayed onto the Oatly product before it is turned into a beverage. So they win in the micronutrient department, and it makes Oatly a good source of vitamins. Not only does Oatly have 2 grams of fiber per cup, but it has a type of fiber that is super duper awesome. It's naturally present in oats, and one of the reasons why I love oats so much. It is a soluble fiber in the form of beta-glucans. Thus far, beta-glucans have been linked to improving insulin resistance, obesity, reducing high cholesterol, reducing high blood pressure, and soluble fiber is the type of fiber that is fermented in the gut and feeds the little critters in your intestine. So overall, soluble fiber, awesome. There is no fiber in milk. Milk kicks Oatly in the face, like drop kicks Oatly down on the ground, like so that the whole crowd goes, with regards to protein. Not only does milk have 70% more protein than Oatly, but it's also a complete protein. It has all 9 essential amino acids, where Oatly does not. I find this kind of amusing that on their label, they call it low erucic, I think that's how you pronounce it, acid rapeseed oil. That is just canola oil. They're making it sound like this hip, fancy new oil that you've never heard of before. Like, what is this? Does this come from like some mountainous region where there's a lot of like spiritual people? No, it's canola oil. Here's my problem with canola oil. Canola oil is high in something called omega-6. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about omega-3s, omega-3s, omega-3s. Everybody get your omega-3s, eat tons of fish. It's known as the anti-inflammatory essential fatty acid. Omega-6 is also an essential fatty acid. We need it in our diet. Most Americans have been observed to have a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 that is totally off. So it's really the ratio you have to look at. Studies have shown that Americans eat anything from an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of 10 to 1 to like 30 to 1. Because most Americans aren't eating sardines and salmon and walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, things like that. Most Americans are eating highly processed foods that are made with vegetable oils and vegetable oils are very high in omega-6. People who have a higher omega-6 to omega-3 ratio tend to have higher levels of inflammation in the body. If you are somebody who eats a lot of processed foods, if you are somebody who doesn't eat a lot of fish and hardly any walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, then you might want to consider drinking this. If you are somebody, however, that eats mainly whole foods, cooks for yourself, doesn't eat a lot of processed stuff, doesn't have a lot of vegetable oils in the diet, gets fish product a couple times a week, then you probably don't have anything to worry about unless you're drinking multiple cups of this per day. Keep in mind that whole milk has higher total amount of sugars in their beverage, around 12 grams, because there is a naturally occurring sugar in milk called lactose. This does not count as an added sugar. Oatly, however, has around 7-ish grams of sugar added per cup, which means you're getting around 2 teaspoons of sugar per cup. Just keep that in mind when you're mixing Oatly into a fancy coffee that already has lots of sugar in it. Oatly is a highly processed food, and I think people don't understand that a lot about plant milks. The oats are ground down and processed to basically turn it into a paste, and then vitamins are sprayed onto it, and then it's mixed in with canola oil and sugars and gums and thickener, natural flavors, which could honestly be anything. All kinds of stuff added in. Yes, milk is processed, but usually it's just processed to get rid of bacteria and make sure that the fat doesn't go to the top. The thickeners that they use, like locust bean gum, I've looked into them and haven't found anything thus far that is a big red flag. None of the other ingredients that they add into this are a red flag to me. There are rare, very rare occurrences of allergic reactions to these thickeners, but they're very rare. There are some reports of people reporting digestive upset, like bloating, gas, diarrhea. So if you start drinking Oatly and then start experiencing those feelings, then it may be the Oatly. The only reason I mention the thickeners and additives is because milk doesn't have them. Now, we're gonna move into who Oatly is as a company, and it's scandaloso time. If you haven't figured out by now, Oatly is a company that makes dairy alternative products from oats. Here's the cool thing about Oatly. They actually were the first company to make oat milk. I know a lot of you have only heard about Oatly in the last 5 years or so, but they were actually around since 1993. And this is kind of the stuff that I think is really cool about this product. It was developed by a food scientist and his brother. They patented the method they used to extract milk from oats. I don't know what else to call it. So it was refreshing to learn that Oatly was made by an actual food scientist who understands food. That was super cool. All of their products are certified kosher and non-GMO verified, and all of their products are made with recycled materials, certified by the Sustainable Forest Initiative. Oatly's oats are only certified gluten-free if the product was made in the United States. If they were made in Asia or Europe, they are not certified gluten-free. Oatly's mission statement is to always deliver products that have maximum nutritional value and minimal environmental impact. I think that the promises that Oatly makes, the fact that they're trying to do what they can for the environment, and the fact that that dang oat milk tastes so good has led to a cult-like following of this Oatly drink. In fact, there is something known as the Great Oat Milk Shortage of 2018. Oatly couldn't keep up with the demand, and vegans and Starbucks hipsters all across the land took to social media screaming that they needed their oat milk back. So yeah, people love Oatly. So please don't come for me, Oatly fans. You kind of seem like K-pop fans. Oh my God, I love K-pop. Don't come at me, K-pop people, please. Oatly is no stranger to a scandaloso. The first scandal is known as the Blackstone incident. Oatly secured a $20 million investment in exchange for 10% stake in the company to a private equity firm by the name of Blackstone. Blackstone is headed by a man named Steven Schwartzman. Steven Schwartzman donated $3 million to Trump's re-election campaign in 2020. This isn't a political channel, at least to your face. But Trump has a long history of rolling back environmental laws. Second issue with Blackstone is that it is connected to Brazilian companies that have been accused of deforestation of the Amazonian rainforest. Would this be a problem if it was Coca-Cola? Heck no, because Coca-Cola is like, we don't care about the environment. We don't care that you guys are obese. You know, that's who we are. Problem here, and the problem that many Oatly customers had and still have, is that this behavior seems to directly contradict everything that Oatly says it is and their mission statements, such as they would do everything to have minimal environmental impact. Additionally, that their drive to help people and help them live better lives always comes before reckless pursuit of profit. Oatly did respond in Twitter, but basically what they said was they understand this partnership seems a little bit wonky, but overall, their goal was to kind of infiltrate from within to push their sustainability goal and align everyone's goals with their own. Customers weren't really believing it. Then there was the attacking small farms incident. Oatly took a company called, I think it's Glebe. I'm gonna say Glebe. Make fun of me in the comments, whatever. Farm Foods, it's a small family-run farm. They make a drink called Pure Oatly. Oatly took a family farm to court claiming copyright infringement. The court obviously ruled in the small farm's favor. I mean, look at these products. They don't look anything alike. I'm gonna side with the judge on this one. Then there was the pig farming incident. Yes, I said it. Here's the thing about plant milk. Making a plant milk results in a lot of plant waste. So when Oatly makes their oat milk, they're left with a bunch of leftover oat crap. Human beings don't want to eat oat crap. But you know who will eat oat crap? Pigs. So it was uncovered that Oatly was selling their oat crap to pig farms. Not only are pig farms not vegan, which is what they're really pushing their product to be, but many would argue they're unethical, they're treating these animals poorly, and many studies have shown that they're literally contributing to climate change and that they're bad for the environment. Again, customers believe this was a direct contradiction to everything that Oatly was claiming about their company, that they're all about sustainability over profits, yet they're selling their oats to pig farms that are anti-sustainability so that they can make money off of their oat crap. It also contradicts another statement they have on their website that is, we believe we should eat stuff that we can grow instead of growing stuff that we feed to animals so that we can eat the animals. It can totally be argued that they're contributing to reducing food waste. They're recycling this stuff that would have just been tossed away anyway. But if you're somebody who cares about environment and how animals are treated, and also care that they're contradicting themselves, you may have a problem with it. Now in 2018, when all this was uncovered, Oatly promised that they were trying to investigate some other way that they could use these oats and that they were actively working to change it. But as of 2020, they admitted to still doing this practice and they have no real option in sight. So they're still feeding oat crap to pigs. The last scandal, and the most recent because it's happening right now, is the class action lawsuit incident. As of this year, a class action lawsuit was filed against Oatly for securities fraud. Oatly is being accused of overinflating its gross margins, revenue, capital expenditure, and market share financial metrics. Also for overstating its sustainability and impact and exaggerating its growth in China. These are some serious accusations. But these types of accusations are pretty commonplace, and a lot of the times these suits are just dismissed and dropped. If this is true, that's really bad for Oatly. If it's not, then Oatly's kind of the victim here. We'll have to see how it plays out in court. Is Oatly more nutritious than cow milk? Nope. Sorry. It would have to be significantly more nutritious overall for me to comfortably say that oat milk is a healthier alternative to milk. Is it a healthy alternative? Yes. It is a good alternative for people who, for whatever reason, can't or do not drink milk. Is it healthier than milk? No. Certain micronutrients, as we discussed, are slightly higher in Oatly than milk, but it's not significant enough for me to be like, wow, that's totally more nutritious than milk. Milk blows away Oatly in regards to protein. Milk is a complete protein where Oatly is not. Oatly does have soluble fiber, but it's really honestly not a lot of soluble fiber. And to get that soluble fiber, you have to drink canola oil, a lot of gums and thickeners, and 2 teaspoons of sugar, when you could just eat a bowl of oatmeal and get more soluble fiber and a bunch of nutrients and all kinds of good stuff without those extra additions. It's cool that it has soluble fiber, but it's not something where I'm like, wow, that makes this a health food. I don't like the fact that they're using an oil that is so high in omega-6s, but I also kind of understand why they're using it. It tends to be a kind of flavorless oil, and it's also cheap. But they do have a low-fat option that does not have canola oil in it. I would definitely suggest getting their low-fat option. Is their product delicious? Hells yes. Is it a highly processed food? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Is it a good option for people who, for whatever reason, cannot or choose not to drink milk? Yes. Would I recommend to people who can drink milk to choose Oatly over milk? Nope. How about the cost? It sucks. I would only recommend Oatly to people who are lactose intolerant and also don't like, for whatever reason, lactose-free milk, people who have a milk protein allergy, people who hate soy milk or almond milk or any of the other plant milks and are looking for an alternative, or people who don't drink milk for ethical reasons but still really crave that kind of milkiness. Otherwise, I say don't bother. Lastly, I just personally don't like Oatly as a company. There's a reason why that phrase, where there's smoke, there's fire, is a commonly used phrase. I think there's a lot of smoke around these guys. I've just known too many people in too many companies who see what the public is interested in and they present themselves in a certain way when they're not really that way to get the interest of the public. They just don't seem to practice what they preach. Here are their claims, that they're not like other gigantic food companies. They're not like big corporate, other evil companies. They put this on their website. They claim that they're all about sustainability over profit, that they have minimal environmental impact, and that they don't want to make food that's fed to animals that people then go and eat. But here are their actions. They spent millions of dollars on a 15-second Super Bowl ad. The average cost of a 30-second Super Bowl ad, I believe, is $5 million. They are now a $400 million company. It's big. It's definitely big. They're a big company now. They literally attacked a small farm that wouldn't be able to really compete with them because they were so small. Took them to court for copyright infringement when it was so clear that they wouldn't win. Companies do this a lot, especially large companies, because they know that the small companies usually can't afford to fight them, that they'll just back down and say, okay, we won't make oat milk anymore, you won. That's the kind of thing that a gigantic company does. They allegedly partook in securities fraud. We don't know if this is true or not, but if they did, that's something else that really large companies do who are all about making profits. They partnered with a company that is linked to Amazonian rainforest deforestation and headed by a man that was the 3rd largest contributor to the Trump re-election campaign. And that presidency is infamous for rolling back climate change policy. And lastly, they sold their oat crap to pigs meant for slaughter. They apologized for it, said they were gonna change it, and then they didn't. Maybe things that happened were just kind of coincidental or weird. Or, and possibly more likely, because we all know this happens a lot, they're yet another company manipulating public emotions, what the public's ethics are, what they believe in, so that they can make millions. If you think I'm being hard on Oatly and you go in the comments and you're like, well, look at Coke, look at da-da-da, blah, blah, blah. There's a very big difference when it comes to people being in your face jerks and people actually being jerks and lying to you about them being jerks. I would rather any day of the week a Coca-Cola come up to me and be like, look, I don't care about the environment. I'm all about making money. Oh, and I don't care that I may be linked to diabetes. And I'd be like, well, that sucks, but thank you for being honest with me, because now I can quickly and easily make a decision as to whether or not I want to buy your product. There's no me thinking I'm crazy. There's no me going, oh my God, I have to waste time investigating this. Is this true? Is this not true? No feeling of betrayal. It's pure honesty. Cool, moving on. But when you have somebody who is a Coca-Cola and presents themselves as caring about you and your health and your safety and the welfare of animals and the environment and all of this, and then their actions show that they're not like that, then you feel betrayal. Then you get frustrated because you have to waste your time investigating, figuring out, are these things true? For any of you who don't care about ethics and all of that, none of that's gonna matter. But for those of you that it does matter, there are many oat milk options that are cheaper than Oatly, and that maybe the company is more in line with what you believe. Maybe they're not in line with what you believe, but they aren't claiming that they are and then doing the opposite. I purchased oat milk from Trader Joe's recently. If anybody has a Trader Joe's near them or likes Trader Joe's, it's cheaper, more than $1 cheaper than Oatly. And it tasted really good, you guys. Was it as creamy as Oatly? No. Was it creamy? Yes. Was it delicious? Yes, it was. Why do I keep asking questions like this and then answering them? I don't know. The other really cool thing about that Trader Joe's oat milk, it had water and oats, and that's it. And it tasted delicious. So those are my recommendations, everybody. I would not recommend Oatly to anybody who could drink milk and wants to drink milk. If cost isn't an issue to you and you don't really have any real opinion on the environment or anything like that, then Oatly's delicious, you guys, the oat milk and the ice cream. Go for it. If you really want an oat milk and you're kind of like, I don't know about that company either, and also it's super expensive, I'd recommend trying Trader Joe's. So that's my review. I don't know what else to say. This has been so long, you guys, because I kept having to stop it. And the dog's barking. I love dogs. I don't like owners of dogs. Does that make sense? I hope so. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure I'm gonna have really hardcore Oatly fans yelling at me in the comments, but I hope y'all know I'm trying to be fair here. I'm just calling things out as I see them. If you have any requests for food items that you would like to have me review, leave those requests in the comment below, and hopefully I'll see y'all soon. Bye. God, I love oats. I love them so much. Like Hall & Oates. I love Hall & Oates. Okay, so